Hi there. If you are a beginner sound designer or you're just starting out in the field of sound effect creation, then this video is for you. In this video, I want to share with you 10 habits to focus on developing that have helped me and I believe will also help you to become a better sound designer. So with that said, let's just get right into number one here. And number one is to create something new every single day. Now, when you're starting out, don't overdo this. Don't overthink it. Keep it really simple. Creating something new could be as simple as just grabbing your phone or your recorder and recording something. It could be opening up your computer, opening up your DAW and just opening up a patch and creating a synth patch. Maybe it's dragging a couple of sounds together, layering them together to create a new sound effect. Just keep it really simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but just create something every day just so you get into the habit of creating and of thinking about how to create stuff and just getting into the habit of creating something every day so that as you do it more and more, you can build on it. You can make it more complex and improve upon it. All right, number two is ear training. And ear training, I try to do this every single day just for 5 minutes. And what I do is actually go on soundgym.co. It's a website. And basically you can play some games. They have a free version as well where you can play games to train your ear. And this is great because it's really ear training for audio engineers. It's really focused for audio engineers. So of course there's ear training that you can have for musical purposes where you're doing like scales and intervals and things like that. But this ear training is really great because it's focused on hearing frequencies, hearing effects like compression, reverb, EQ. So yeah, just 5 minutes a day makes a big difference. If you can do more, great, but at least do it 5 minutes. And the idea here is that it's a lot more valuable to be consistent and do it more consistently over days rather than doing a lot just on one day. And along with ear training, another habit that is really great to form is whenever you are working or designing or doing any kind of work on your computer that's audio related, just be in the habit of keeping your volume at medium to low levels, basically nothing that is louder than a conversation level. So at any time, if somebody enters into your studio, into your room, or wherever you're working, you should be able to have a conversation with them and still have your audio playing in the background. And it shouldn't be overdoing the conversation that you're having, right? It shouldn't be overly loud. So yeah, just having that. And it's also just a good habit. It's going to protect your ears so that you are able to work for a long term, for long term and for long periods of time. If you're a beginner sound designer or sound effect creator and you're looking to build your portfolio and your online presence, then I have something for you. I created a free sound design training session where I basically go over how you can start to build your portfolio and create an online presence and share your work online on social media. And it's completely free. So if you want to check it out, I'll make sure to leave a link in the description below. And so yeah, check it out if you're interested. All right, number three is to build out your own personal sound effect library. Now, this is something I've been doing ever since I got started, and I'm still doing to this day. I'm still kind of expanding my own personal library. Every time I go out and record something, I'll put it into my personal library. Every time I create a sound pack, I'll put it into I'll have it as in there in my personal library. So every time I'm designing or creating something, I'll put it in my personal library so that I always have sounds that I can go back to and pull from that are really unique to me because they're sounds that I created that nobody else has. So this can be something that you do every day, like whenever you're creating one thing new a day, whether it's a synth patch or a new sound, like put that sound in your library, have this folder structure set up that is unique to you. You can download one if you want to download the UCS one, the Universal Category System. They have a folder structure. So if you want to download that, it's already set up and you can just put it into your computer and you have that folder structure set up, or just create your own. I went for the path where I'm creating my own. So I kind of know where everything is and how it's organized. But either way, it doesn't really matter. Just create your own personal library, create sounds. Every time you create your own personal sounds that are unique to you, that you own all the rights to, that's another thing too. Like don't mix it up with third-party libraries that you don't have copyrights to. Only keep your sounds that you have full copyrights to and put that in your own personal library so that you can always pull from and change up and put into your projects whenever you're working. All right, number four is to have dedicated sound design sessions. Now, this is super important. It just allows you to be creative, to experiment, and to just create a lot of garbage, basically, because what's going to happen is you're going to create a lot of sounds that you're never going to want to keep, and you're going to just throw out in the garbage can, and that's totally fine. The idea behind having dedicated sound design sessions, though, is just to be creative. Stack plugins together that you wouldn't normally do. Try different synth patches and putting different patches together that you wouldn't normally try, right? It's just the idea of being creative, of putting things together that you normally wouldn't, of having happy accidents, right? And just letting your brain be creative in that way. One, it's a lot of fun to be able to do this, but two, you'll also have, like I said, happy accidents, and you will create sounds that you would have probably never have created if you hadn't had these dedicated sessions. So just having these dedicated sound design sessions is super important. And again, this is another way that you can grow your own personal library as well. All right, number 5 is to do redesigns and recreations. So a redesign is when you are stripping the audio from a clip, let's say a game clip, and then you are going to do your own version of the audio for that clip. Recreation, on the other hand, would be when you are stripping the audio from a game clip again, but then you are going to put your own sounds to it, but making it as close as possible to the originals. And when you're starting out, this is what I recommend and suggest you do, is focus on recreation. And the reason for that is because you can then use the original game audio as reference for yourself. And it kind of sets a standard, a bar for you to reach for and to hopefully exceed eventually. And just as a note as well with this point here is that even if you're not doing a redesign, I suggest doing like one redesign every 1 to 2 weeks. If you can't, at the very least, at least once a month. But yeah, what I suggest doing is, even if you're not doing a redesign, if you're just working on a game, or you're just creating sounds as just for fun or whatever, always have some sort of reference in mind. Whether it is that you're pulling up like third-party libraries, like let's say you're pulling up like something I like to do is sometimes I'll pull up like Boom Library's website or Soundmorph's website, or just go on asoundeffect.com and find different sounds that I'm currently creating and just play some of those sounds so I have something in mind to reference. Not that I'm going to copy them, not that I'm going to do the exact same thing, but just so I have something to reference my sound to. It's like, okay, this is an idea that these guys had. They created sounds this way. I'm going to do it a bit differently. Perhaps I'm going to go this direction, but just to have an idea of what to listen for, what to go for. And especially when you're a beginner, when you're starting out, especially if you can have a listen to these professionally produced and edited and designed libraries, like it's really going to set your bar high, and it's going to get your ear trained to understand and to know what to listen for, know what sounds should sound like, know what things should sound like. So it's just a really good practice to have that, especially when you're starting out. All right, number 6 is to analyze and deconstruct sounds from games. So one way you can do this, one way that I've done this, especially when I was starting out, is I would take a short clip from a game. Usually it was something like a sci-fi weapon or something like that. And I would just chop it up so I would only hear the weapon sound. And I would put that into my DAW. And then what I would do is I would listen to it over and over again. I would maybe chop it up so I would hear just the beginning and hear what the transient sounds like. Maybe I would just listen to the tail. Maybe I would put an EQ on so I hear just what the lows sound like, maybe just the highs, maybe just the mids, right? And just analyzing it that way. And as you listen to it over and over again, and as you also, like I said before, do redesigns and you redesign that weapon sound, like as you listen to it, you'll kind of start to hear different parts of the sound, different frequencies, different layers that maybe were used to create the sound, right? So again, this is kind of very related to doing redesigns and recreations. It's just to analyze, make sure you analyze and listen to the original game audio, listen to other sound effects, and yeah, just analyze them so that you can learn how they were made. All right, number 7 is to record and edit your own sounds whenever possible. Now, of course, whenever you're working on a project, especially in the future, if you ever get hired or something like that, sometimes you'll have tight deadlines. Sometimes you'll need third-party libraries. Sometimes there's sounds that you just can't record and you actually have to purchase and use in your sound design. But when you're starting out, whenever possible, always go for recording, for the route to record your own sound effects, right? You're just going to learn so much more when you're recording stuff from scratch and then putting it into your computer, editing it, figuring out, okay, why does it work? Why does it not work? How do I transfer and transform this sound from a raw sound to a layer that's actually usable? What effects do I need to put on it? How do I EQ, compress, saturate, whatever it is that you're going to use to design your sound, right? That whole process is super, super important. I suggest this to all my students because it's just, I found that when I did that, I learned so much about sound design through going through that process. So yes, it is a lot more time consuming. Yes, it's going to take a lot more time, a lot more effort, but in the end, you're going to learn a lot more about it. You're going to learn a lot more about how sounds work and how editing and processing sound works as well. All right, habit number 8 is to practice synthesis. So synthesis is a huge part of sound design, whether you're creating some like UI sounds or sci-fi sounds. Synthesis is super important. So whether that's a little bit every single day where you're doing some synth work or creating some patches, or you're just doing it every couple of weeks, or just finding time in your sound design creative session, your dedicated sound design sessions to create some synth patches, make sure you practice it so you understand what synthesis is: subtractive synthesis, additive synthesis, wavetable synthesis, spectral synthesis. There's so many different kinds. So like it's just great to have a basic understanding of how it works and what you can do with all these types of sounds. Granular synthesis is another one, super important. So just practicing using synthesizers in your sound design. All right, habit number 9 is to stay current on industry news. So this can be anything from signing up to newsletters or email newsletters where you're getting like weekly updates on what's happening in the world of gaming, audio, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different like websites and things where you can sign up to get those, but just just being aware of what's out there. You don't have to sign up to newsletters. You can also just like do some Google searches. Maybe once a week, you put it as a habit. Like every Monday, you're just going to look it up so that you kind of know what to expect, what's new, see what's out there. But yeah, staying current with not only like plugins and hardware, but also just the gaming industry in general, or whatever industry you're in. And yeah, that's just super important so that you are aware of what's happening around you. All right, finally, habit number 10, and it's by no means the least important. It is continuous learning. And continuous learning can mean everything from, keeping on improving yourself by watching tutorials like this one, read books, read articles, attend conferences. Just keep on improving yourself. Practice. This is kind of a journey, and there's not really a destination. Like maybe your destination is getting a job, but even once you have a job where you're doing sound design work full time, like you still have to improve. You're still gonna want to experiment, explore, and get better. So this is kind of an ongoing thing, especially I think it is in any industry, but especially in this one where you're doing creative work. You always want to kind of improve yourself, learn about what's out there, learn different types of approaches and techniques to sound design, and just have fun and continuously learn and just get better. All right, so those are my 10 habits to develop as a beginner sound designer. If you made it all the way through to the end, I think there's another video you're going to like to watch, and it is my 10 tips for creating a video game sound design demo reel. So I'll make sure to put it either in the cards or somewhere in this video or in the description. But yeah, make sure to check it out if you're interested in that. Again, just a reminder about my sound design training. A link will be in the description. If you have any comments, questions, or if there's a habit that you think I missed or that I should have included in here, let me know in the comments below. And I think that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching all the way through to the end. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.